Injuries, and I know you look forward to welcoming Caitlin Clark back this year. Did you get any chance to critique her work? She was holding the microphone over the weekend on NBA because you're doing a pretty good job.
You would have told me last year, my rookie year, that this place would be filled for the majority of our games. I would have thought you were crazy. And last year, the year before that, proved me wrong. So
the Indiana Fever have a target on their backs, and for the first time, someone from inside the locker room just confirmed exactly why. Lexi Hull, Caitlin Clark's right-hand woman on the court, just dropped a truth bomb that has sent shockwaves through the entire Women's National Basketball Association. In a brutally honest interview, Hull admitted what millions of fans have suspected all along. Other teams are jealous of the Fever. Not just jealous of their talent, but jealous of the attention, the sold-out arenas, the charter flights, and the spotlight that follows Caitlin Clark everywhere she goes. This isn't speculation anymore. This is a confession straight from a player who lives it every single day. Before we dive deep into this story, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel because this drama is just getting started and you don't want to miss what happens next.
I know you look forward to welcoming Caitlin Clark back this year. Did you get any chance to critique her work? She was holding the microphone over the weekend on NBA because you're doing a pretty good job. You give her any advice?
No, she did so good. So proud of her. So fun to see her in that atmosphere too.
Individually, your game has really grown over the last 4 seasons. Your three-point shooting specifically, we showed those numbers. What has led to that transformation in your game?
Confidence. I think it's all confidence. Shooting, you have good days, you have bad days, but you know the work you put in individually before practice, after practice, and I think the biggest part is just trusting that and showing up and continuing to do what you need to do every day.
Let's rewind to October 2025. Lexi Hull sat down with Glamour magazine for a feature that was supposed to celebrate the growth of women's basketball. Instead, Hull decided to pull back the curtain and expose the uncomfortable truth that nobody in the league wants to talk about. When asked about the heightened intensity other teams bring when facing Indiana, Hull didn't sugarcoat it. She said, quote, "I think there is a level of jealousy when it comes to the Fever, just because of the media attention and the fans that have shown up for us ever since Caitlin got here." She went even further, revealing that the Fever have overheard conversations in opposing locker rooms where players and coaches specifically talk about how they cannot let the Fever win. Think about that for a second. Other teams are having literal meetings about stopping Indiana, not just because they're good, but because they resent what the Fever represent. This statement validates everything fans have been saying since Caitlin Clark entered the league in April 2024. The hard fouls that seemed excessive, the cold shoulders during handshake lines, the passive-aggressive comments from veterans who claimed they were just welcoming rookies to the league. All of it suddenly makes sense when you understand the jealousy factor. Hull's willingness to say this out loud is remarkable, because most players would never admit this publicly. They'd give some rehearsed answer about competition and respect. But Hull went rogue, and in doing so, she became the voice for everyone who's been watching this unfold and thinking, something's not right here. But here's the twist. Hull isn't just defending Caitlin Clark. She's defending herself too, because her own career trajectory is proof of why the jealousy exists. Let's go back to 2022. Lexi Hull was the 6th overall pick in the draft, selected by the Indiana Fever with high expectations. She came from Stanford, where she won a national championship in 2021. On paper, she had all the tools: size, athleticism, basketball IQ, and a shooter's mentality. But the WNBA is unforgiving, and Hull struggled to find consistent minutes. In 2023, her three-point shooting percentage was a dismal 21.7%. She started most games, but her impact was minimal. The Fever were one of the worst teams in the league, playing in front of sparse crowds at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Games felt like scrimmages, not professional sporting events. Hull was on the verge of becoming just another draft pick, who never quite lived up to the hype. Her confidence was shaken, and her future in the league was uncertain. Then April 15th, 2024 happened. The Indiana Fever selected Caitlin Clark with the 1st overall pick, and the entire universe shifted overnight. Clark arrived with unprecedented hype, breaking college basketball viewership records and bringing a fan base that had never watched the WNBA before. But more importantly for Lexi Hull, Clark brought a style of play that would completely transform Hull's career. Clark doesn't just score, she creates. She manipulates defenses with her range, pulling defenders out to 30 feet and opening up massive gaps in the defense. Suddenly, Lexi Hull wasn't fighting through crowded lanes anymore. She was standing wide open in the corner, while 2 or 3 defenders collapsed on Caitlin. And when Clark found her with those pinpoint passes, Hull started knocking them down. The statistics tell the story better than words ever could. In 2024, Lexi Hull shot 47.1% from three-point range, the highest mark of her career, and one of the best in the entire league. She went from a 21.7% shooter to a 47.1% sniper in one season. That's not just improvement. That's a complete resurrection. Hull became one of the most efficient offensive players in the WNBA, and she did it by playing off Caitlin Clark's gravity. By 2025, even though her percentage dipped slightly to 36.7%, she was still a trusted weapon and a key part of Indiana's playoff run to the semifinals. Hull credits confidence and repetition for her improvement, but everyone knows the real story. Caitlin Clark made Lexi Hull a legitimate threat, and Hull is smart enough to acknowledge it without diminishing her own work. But what are other teams and players actually jealous of? It's easy to say they're jealous of Caitlin Clark's talent, but Hull's comments reveal it goes much deeper than that. The Fever enjoy privileges that most WNBA teams could only dream about. In May 2024, the WNBA launched a $25 million charter flight program, allowing teams to fly privately instead of going through commercial airports. The Indiana Fever were one of the first teams to use charter flights at the start of the 2024 season. Meanwhile, other franchises, including the New York Liberty, were still flying commercial for their opening games. Imagine being a veteran player who's flown middle seats on Delta for a decade, and now you're watching a rookie and her team board private planes because of the attention one player brings. That's the kind of disparity that breeds resentment. Then there's the arena situation. Before Caitlin Clark, the Fever played in front of maybe 4,000 fans on a good night. After Clark arrived, every single game became a sellout, not just in Indianapolis but on the road too. Opposing teams suddenly had their best attendance nights of the season when the Fever came to town. That's great for the league's bottom line, but it also means other players see their gyms packed only when Indiana shows up. It's a constant reminder that fans aren't there for them. They're there for Caitlin, and by extension, they're there for players like Lexi Hull who benefit from that association. The media coverage is another sore spot. Fever games were on national television constantly. Every Caitlin Clark move was analyzed on sports talk shows. Meanwhile, other talented players barely got a mention unless they were playing against Indiana. It's no wonder Hull heard those locker room conversations about stopping the Fever. For many players, beating Indiana became personal. What makes this story even more compelling is the genuine friendship between Lexi Hull and Caitlin Clark. This isn't just a professional relationship between teammates. These two are real friends off the court, and that bond has translated into incredible chemistry on the court. During the 2024 season, Clark famously tweeted, "This is now a Lexi Hull fan account," after Hull went off for 6 three-pointers in a single game. That kind of public support from the league's biggest star to a role player speaks volumes. Hull has been spotted constantly laughing with Clark on the bench, sharing inside jokes, and celebrating each other's success. Kate Martin, Clark's former teammate at Iowa, even noticed from afar how much Hull's confidence grew because of her friendship with Caitlin. Hull credits the month-long Olympic break in 2024 as a turning point for building that relationship. With Clark away representing Team USA and Hull staying back, they had time to connect as people, not just basketball players. Hull mentioned in interviews that her success at Stanford came from genuinely caring about her teammates off the court, and she wanted to replicate that in Indiana. When Clark returned from the Olympics, the Fever were a different team. The trust was there. The chemistry was undeniable. And when Clark made her broadcasting debut for the National Basketball Association on NBC at Madison Square Garden in February 2026, Hull was one of the first to publicly support her. She gushed about how well Clark handled the microphone, proving that their friendship goes beyond just winning games together. But friendship alone doesn't get you to the playoffs. The 2025 season was the proving ground where Lexi Hull showed she wasn't just riding Caitlin's coattails. The Fever reached the WNBA semifinals, and Hull played crucial minutes in high-pressure situations. In the playoff games, Hull averaged double-digit points and grabbed key rebounds. She hit clutch three-pointers when the Fever needed them most. Against the Connecticut Sun in the semifinals, Hull's defense and shooting kept Indiana competitive. She wasn't just a spot-up shooter anymore. She was a legitimate two-way player who could guard the opponent's best wing and still contribute offensively. Even though the Fever eventually fell short of the finals, Hull's performance earned respect across the league. She proved that she belonged on that stage, and more importantly, she proved that she could handle the pressure that comes with being Caitlin Clark's running mate. The us-against-the-world mentality that the Fever developed throughout this journey is exactly what championship teams are made of. When you know other teams are gunning for you, When you hear them scheming in their locker rooms, it creates a bond that's hard to break. Hull's decision to publicly acknowledge the jealousy is a power move. She's not complaining about it. She's embracing it. She's essentially telling the league, yeah, we see you. Yeah, we know you're jealous. And we don't care. That kind of swagger is dangerous. It means the Fever aren't going to shrink from the spotlight. They're going to lean into it. And that makes them even more formidable going forward. Looking ahead to the future, Lexi Hull's comments raise interesting questions about roster continuity. Hull will eventually hit free agency, and when that happens, every team in the league will be interested. She's proven she can shoot, defend, and thrive under pressure. But will she leave Indiana? Based on everything she's said, it seems unlikely. Hull talks about unfinished business, about winning a championship, about the special bond she has with this team and this city. She knows that if she goes somewhere else, she's not getting charter flights every game. She's not playing in sold-out arenas. And most importantly, she's not playing with the greatest passer in women's basketball. Hull is smart enough to understand that her best chance at long-term success, both on the court and financially, is staying in Indiana and riding this wave as long as it lasts. The league-wide implications of Hull's statement are fascinating to consider. By confirming the jealousy narrative, she's essentially drawn a line in the sand. There are teams that support the growth Caitlin Clark has brought to the WNBA, and there are teams that resent it. Indiana is clearly in the first category, capitalizing on the moment and building a contender. But what about everyone else? Will teams use this as motivation to build better rosters and compete with the Fever? Or will the resentment continue to fester, creating a toxic environment where players take cheap shots and try to tear down what's been built? The answer to that question will define the next era of the WNBA. If the league embraces the rising tide that lifts all boats, everyone benefits. But if jealousy continues to drive decision-making, it could stunt the growth that's been so impressive over the past 2 years. One of the most underrated aspects of this entire story is the mental toughness required to be Lexi Hull. Imagine being a lottery pick with high expectations, then struggling publicly while the team loses constantly. Most players would have folded under that pressure. Most would have demanded a trade or quietly faded into obscurity. But Hull kept working. She stayed in the gym. She improved her shot mechanics. She worked on her defensive positioning. And when the moment finally arrived, when Caitlin Clark showed up and the spotlight turned to Indiana, Hull was ready. She didn't waste the opportunity. She seized it with both hands and transformed herself into a key piece of a playoff team. That kind of perseverance deserves recognition, and Hull's willingness to speak her truth about the jealousy shows she's no longer the uncertain player fighting for minutes. She's a confident veteran who knows her worth. The relationship between confidence and performance in basketball cannot be overstated. Hull has talked repeatedly about how confidence is the biggest factor in shooting. You can practice for hours, but if you don't trust your shot in the game, none of that work matters. Playing with Caitlin Clark gave Hull that confidence because she knew the looks she was getting were high quality. When Clark finds you with a pass, it's not a forced shot. It's a legitimate opportunity, and Hull learned to trust those moments. That trust became automatic, and the results followed. Now when Hull catches the ball in the corner, there's no hesitation. She rises and fires, knowing the work she's put in will pay off. That mindset shift is the difference between a struggling role player and a legitimate starter on a contender. Another layer to this story is the coaching evolution. In 2024, the Fever were coached by Christy Sides, who made some questionable rotation decisions that frustrated fans. Hull was benched in crucial moments despite being one of the hottest shooters in the league. That inconsistency made it harder for Hull to find her rhythm. But Sides did recognize Clark's ability to elevate her teammates, and she gave Hull opportunities to shine alongside the star rookie. By 2025, with new coaching and a more defined role, Hull was able to take another step forward. The continuity of playing with Clark for multiple seasons allowed their chemistry to deepen, and Hull's understanding of where to be on the court became instinctive. That kind of development takes time, and it's a big reason why Hull is so invested in staying in Indiana long-term. The playoff experience Hull gained in 2025 is invaluable. Postseason basketball is a completely different animal. The physicality increases, the defensive schemes get more complex, and every possession matters. Hull played significant minutes in the Fever's semifinal run, and she didn't look out of place. She hit tough shots, made smart passes, and played tenacious defense. Even in the games where her shot wasn't falling, she found ways to contribute with hustle plays and timely rebounds. That versatility is what separates good players from great ones, and Hull showed flashes of greatness when it mattered most. The experience of falling short in the semifinals will fuel her going into the next season. She knows what it takes now, and she knows how close they were to something special. The fan reaction to Hull's jealousy comments has been overwhelmingly positive. Fever fans have felt gaslit for 2 years, being told that the rough treatment Caitlin Clark received was just normal rookie hazing. Hull's confirmation that there's genuine jealousy vindicates those feelings. It's not paranoia, it's real, and now there's proof. That validation has energized the fanbase, and it's turned Lexi Hull into a fan favorite in her own right. She's no longer just Caitlin's teammate. She's the one who was brave enough to say what everyone was thinking. That kind of authenticity resonates with people, and it's a big reason why Hull's popularity has skyrocketed over the past year. What's particularly interesting is how this jealousy dynamic mirrors other sports dynasties throughout history. The 1990s Chicago Bulls were hated by other teams because they dominated and got all the attention. The New England Patriots in football faced similar resentment during their championship runs. The Golden State Warriors in recent NBA history were despised by fans and players alike. But in every case, that hatred fueled the dynasty to keep winning. The Fever are in the early stages of potentially becoming that kind of force in the WNBA, and Hull's comments suggest they're ready to embrace that role. They're not apologizing for their success. They're not shrinking from the spotlight. They're running toward it. And that mentality is what separates champions from also-rans. The economic impact of Caitlin Clark's arrival cannot be ignored either. The Fever's franchise valuation has skyrocketed. Merchandise sales are through the roof. Ticket prices have increased. Local businesses around Gainbridge Fieldhouse are thriving because of the foot traffic on game nights. Lexi Hull benefits from all of this indirectly. Her jersey sales have increased because fans want to support the whole team. Her social media following has grown exponentially. She's getting sponsorship opportunities that weren't available before. This is the rising tide that lifts all boats, and Hull is one of the biggest beneficiaries. Other players in the league see this happening and wonder why they can't have the same opportunities. And that's where the jealousy really takes root. There's also a generational element to this story. Veteran players who grinded through the lean years of the WNBA, when nobody cared and the pay was terrible, feel a certain way about rookies like Clark walking into sold-out arenas and charter flights. They feel like they paved the way, and now someone else is reaping the rewards. While that's understandable from an emotional perspective, it's also short-sighted. Caitlin Clark's popularity has raised the profile of the entire league. Salaries are going up. TV deals are getting bigger. The next generation of players will benefit from the foundation Clark is building right now. Hull understands this because she's living it in real time. She's grateful for the opportunity rather than resentful of the attention Clark receives, and that gratitude has paid dividends in her own career. The physical transformation of Lexi Hull's game is also worth noting. She's always had size and athleticism, but over the past 2 years, she's added strength and improved her conditioning. That physical development has allowed her to defend bigger, stronger opponents and fight through contact on offense. When she drives to the basket now, she's not getting pushed off her line as easily. When she contests shots on defense, she's holding her ground. Those subtle improvements might not show up in the stat sheet, but they make a huge difference in winning basketball. Hull's commitment to her body and her craft shows she's not content with just being a shooter. She wants to be a complete player, and that work ethic is why she's continued to improve every season. So what happens next? The 2026 WNBA season is right around the corner, and all eyes will be on the Indiana Fever once again. Caitlin Clark is coming off a successful broadcasting debut with NBC, proving she's more than just a basketball player. She's becoming a media personality and a household name. Lexi Hull is coming off her most confident and successful playoff run. The team has unfinished business after falling short in the semifinals. And now, thanks to Hull's comments, everyone knows that the rest of the league is coming for them with extra motivation. The target on their backs just got bigger, and the Fever are ready for it. They've embraced the villain role, and they're going to use that jealousy as fuel. If you've made it this far, you already know this is going to be one of the most exciting storylines of the upcoming season. The question isn't whether other teams are jealous. Lexi Hull already confirmed that. The question is what the Fever are going to do about it. Are they going to wilt under the pressure, or are they going to rise to the occasion and show everyone why they deserve the spotlight? Based on everything we've seen from Hull and Clark over the past 2 years, my money's on the latter. These two have been through too much together to back down now. They've faced the criticism, the hard fouls, the doubt, and they've come out stronger every single time. The beauty of this story is that it's still being written. Lexi Hull's confession about league-wide jealousy is just one chapter in what's shaping up to be an incredible saga. The Fever have a chance to build something special, a dynasty that could dominate the WNBA for years to come. Hull has a chance to cement her legacy as more than just Caitlin Clark's sidekick. She can become an all-star in her own right, a champion, and a player who helped transform a franchise. The pieces are all in place. The talent is there. The chemistry is undeniable. Now it's just about execution and staying healthy when it matters most. Before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. Do you think Lexi Hull was right to call out the jealousy publicly, or should she have kept that behind closed doors? Do you believe the Fever can win a championship with this core? And who do you think is the most jealous team in the league? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this is a conversation worth having. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most fascinating dynamics in the WNBA right now, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any updates as this story continues to unfold. The Fever's revenge tour is just getting started, and we're going to be here covering every single moment. Thanks for watching, and remember, jealousy might be the most honest form of flattery, but in professional sports, it's also the most dangerous motivator.